Awesome. All right, so going ahead, we've called the business meeting to order here at 7:02, and now we're going to go through the agenda. First, our call to order, and I wanted to go over with you a little bit of general housekeeping before we go to the approval of the agenda, just to make sure that everybody's on the same page tonight and that we can all be able to access the meeting and participate hopefully to our fullest. So if you'll bear with me for a second, I am going to stop sharing for 1 minute and go to a different space on my computer and screen share with you. All right. So tonight I wanted to just make sure that we had some general housekeeping for our time together, just as a way to make sure that everyone is able to participate and access everything. Well, your faces are right in front of where the button I need to hit. So let me go for that. So a little bit of general housekeeping. We've just already touched on the fact that this meeting will be recorded and is being recorded tonight. We look forward to sharing that with our community. I've asked all of our folks that are in GLR leadership roles to put that at the beginning of their Zoom name as a way for our community members who are here tonight to see who is in leadership roles, to connect with them and kind of put a name and a face together, especially in a time when we obviously look to hear from anyone that we might be representing. We will be using Robert's rules tonight as we go through the structure of our meeting. Past president is not, Rebecca is not able to be here tonight, so President-elect Todd Schwartzberg will act as our parliamentarian. I will say that we don't have a lot of business to necessarily discuss and vote on tonight. Tonight is really more of kind of an update meeting, but if something does come up, obviously we will abide by Robert's rules. The other thing that I'd like to mention is that in the agenda, as I share it in a second, you'll see that we have a space later on for open comments and discussion from our community members. And I think it's really important that we have this space. I also want to make sure that we're mindful of continuing our meetings agenda and keeping things going at a pace that's respectful of what needs to be said, but also respectful of each other's times, especially knowing that some of us are in the Eastern time, some people are in the Eastern time coast, East Coast time, I should say. So we will be using a Google form at the meeting. If you would like to request time to speak and or ask a question, the president-elect is going to go ahead and put this link in the chat as well. And you can utilize that form. It's myself and Vice President-elect Allison Gunning who have access to the responses that come into that. And we will be using that just to make sure we can facilitate conversation as it comes up at that point in the meeting. If for any reason you're not able to access the Google form, you can reach out directly to Vice President-elect Allison Gunning in the chat directly, and she will be able to, you can private message her to see if you want to share that you'd like to speak or like have a question. And this is also a space that you can ask an anonymous question. So we're not set up in a webinar situation, so we can't have the anonymous questions and answers, but I'm doing my best to hopefully set up a space where everyone feels safe and able to participate. So that being said, moving ahead with some of our items for the agenda. I'm going to go ahead and get that pulled up for you a second. All right. So our agenda tonight, as I mentioned, does include a lot of updates for us tonight. And I think it comes at a time when our association and our region, actually specifically our region, is a little bit kind of on a pause with being able to move forward with big decisions and kind of going through the process of that. So no major voting tonight that I'm aware of, but here is our agenda. And I'm also going to ask Lindsay, I didn't have a chance to ask you prior to hopping on our call, but if Lindsay, if you could monitor the chat for me tonight, that would be great. Just kind of trying to divide and make sure we can all see everything as I'm screen sharing. So here is this is the spring. I guess I see a typo here. That is not spring, that is fall. That is my typo. I will check that and edit that right now. Although it did feel like spring up until just a very couple days ago, right? At least in Illinois it did. But here we have the rest of the agenda. We will use a consent agenda tonight where the majority of our reports will be online and on the website for people to review. We will also, the agenda items that are highlighted in the consent agenda, I had not received as of just a little while ago, so they might have come in since then. But when I last worked on this agenda, I had not received them yet. We'll have some officer and committee reports from some folks. We'll have a joint report shared by our state representatives and presidents. We do not have any new or old business. Most of it is covered in our updates. We'll have a community questions and comments section and a time for any announcements, whether it be from AMTAS or any committees, and then we will adjourn. You should all have access to this document. If not, I believe hopefully it's been put in the chat as well. So at this time, I'll take a motion to approve the agenda. And if you are going to another housekeeping item, if you do make a motion tonight, please go ahead and put the motion in the chat so that our secretary, Amy Foley, can track that for minutes purposes. I see Meryl Brown has so moved. So I have a first. Do I have a second on that motion? Thank you, Meryl. And President-elect Todd Schwartzberg seconds. All right, so in order to vote, we will go ahead and do raise hands. All in favor of approving the agenda as it reads, go ahead and raise your hand. All right, we'll go ahead and give that. Anyone else? All right, lower hands. Anybody opposed? All right, I don't see anybody as I scroll the screens here. Oh, I do see one position right now. We'll lower hands. Anybody abstaining from that vote? All right, I think maybe that hand might just be up right now. All right, the agenda is approved. Okay, so we will go ahead with the next items on our agenda, which are the consent agenda. So I just want to, I'm going to pull this up in a slide format so that everyone can kind of see this in a little bit better format. We are utilizing a consent agenda tonight, and really the biggest reason I do that is not because the reports are not important, but because I want to make sure that we're mindful of everyone's time, right? And we're also, our editor Andy will be putting information out in our editor's new kind of version of the Voice of the Lakes, and it'll also be on the website. And hopefully you'll be seeing it on different aspects of newsletters, the 5 for Fridays, those kinds of things. So you'll see that we are going to, the items in the consent agenda are more routine in nature. They'll be accessible on the website. And I think I just saw a motion or a mention from Julie, our website coordinator, that it is on the website now. And we'll move it over to the members only section after the meeting. That's something actually that we need to consider as an organization, whether or not we want to keep it in a members only section or make it more accessible to our community. And that is something we need to determine. However, we will have highlights shared in the Voice of the Lakes, and more time sensitive updates and issues will be discussed in the, can be brought up in business and announcements. And then Todd, President-elect Todd Schwartzberg will put the reports link, or I think Julie might have put that into the chat. And our final piece, this is what is included in that consent agenda at this time. If you see an office that is not listed, then they will be presenting to the group tonight. All right. So at this time, I will take a motion to approve this part of our agenda, the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve all the reports that are in this part of our agenda tonight? Looks like I have, let's see, I think it was that, is that Tanya who did? Yeah, Tanya. So the great thing about having GLR in the front of all of your names is that you all read as GLR to me. So if I have a hard time figuring out who you are in the chat, I'm just going to call you GLR. So maybe that plan didn't work very well. Anyway, second for that motion. Second from Mia. Thank you, Mia. All right, all in favor of approving our consent agenda, go ahead and raise your hands. All right. If we still have a couple more people raising hands. All right, and go ahead and lower hands. Anybody opposed to approving the consent agenda at this time? All right. All right, and anyone abstaining from this vote? Okay. All right, I think we just have a one hand that might just be up right now. Kathy Brown, I think your hand might be up just in general. So if you have something you want to safe, let us know, or we can, oh, maybe it's gone now. Okay, all right, thank you. I just want to make sure we don't miss anything. All right, so we will move on then. And as a reminder, those reports are very important to read and to pay attention to. The committees, the AMTA committees, are, many of them are still working even during this time of transition and restructuring. There's exciting things to share with some of those, and exciting things to share with some of the other officers and what they've been doing. So I definitely encourage you to check out those reports when you can, when you have the time. All right, so we're gonna go ahead on with our president's report here, and I'm gonna go ahead and just start things off. No worries, Kathy. No worries. So I'm going to go ahead and screen share here, and you can see a report that I put into a Google Slides presentation. So it has been a busy time since we last met in April. We've had a lot of online discussions and virtual board meetings amongst the GLR leadership. I've been working to facilitate town hall meetings for various levels of our regional leadership and community, including the assembly members of our community, as well as just AMTA members. We had a town hall in May, and then we had another one in September that many of you I know were a part of. So looking to really maintain constant communication and open dialogue with our community during this time. We also have, as president of the organization, I've been very mindful of my role as an elected officer in this region to, protect and help guide our region. So, during the challenging times that AMTA is going through, I've explored with other exec board members and leadership. We've explored and reviewed the steps for protecting our assets and our programs and our structures and how we do things amidst the financial challenges and restructuring that's going on. I've taken that very seriously because I know that, we want to make sure that there is a continuity in services and support that the GLR offers its community members. We've also attended recent board meetings. That includes assembly meetings and general business meetings, as well as some additional conversations over Zoom with regional presidents and other AMTA leadership, the AMTA accountant, and things like that. So there's been a lot of extra meetings, a lot of extra Zoom time, which I know we all can empathize with because there's a lot of those happening at this time. So moving ahead, let's see, here we go. In addition, I also helped assist with the planning of the 2022 Fall Symposium, created and presented with a great group of colleagues, a strategic planning update. We really had strong feedback from all of our strategic planning team and was able to record an update during the symposium, which I believe we have the link to that Todd can put in the chat. This is a full, I think it's about just like right under an hour. It's a full report on strategic planning to this time. And I encourage you to watch it and learn more about what we've done, what we've learned, and where we're going with that process. And you'll hear a little bit more about that in a few minutes. I worked to publish memorial tributes for Marianne Ferrolo and Carol Collins, some pioneers in our region that we recently lost, and we will be paying tribute to them again in the spring at our conference. I worked with other leaders on both strategic planning and on the board to present an archives presentation. We've been putting together a list of all the presidents, trying to reach out to people, connecting to some of our leaders, and it's been exciting to see some of the things that are coming from that. As well, really collaborated a lot with GLR Treasurer Lindsay Wright in recent weeks to submit the GLR documentation for our 990 for tax filing. And that is filed with Arrow Bookkeeping, and then it goes on to an audit organization, GRF. So that has been a little bit of extra time as well as of late. So just a summary of the ongoing things that are happening. I continue to have frequent follow-up engagement and conversation with the other AMTA regional presidents. It's been a time where we have been able to come together and talk about the different decisions that have been brought to us as regional boards and as regional leadership. Really all of us taking very strongly and very seriously the idea of making sure that we're guiding our regions during this uncertain time. So there are frequent emails, and we've had some conversations as well, and that has been very, very helpful. It's been nice to be a part of that group and to have that support, and just camaraderie during this time. I've been doing some follow-up with the GLR mentoring committee, and that is something that's still in process. Hopefully I'll have more information for you by year's end or the beginning of 2023 about that program and where it's headed. Something I thought of, and I think it was a night after a long meeting and I couldn't sleep and I was thinking about ways to connect, and I had the idea of having a GLR 5 for Friday notice. And so some of you, hopefully all of you, have seen a GLR 5 for Friday coming out. I'm trying to do it on average like twice a month. Depends on how much time I have on a Thursday night or a Friday morning. But I'm hoping to share that. And it's just really quick bullet points, like here's what's happening, here's 5 things. So right now, if I was getting ready to do a 5 for 5, it might include something on sponsorship and, the strategic planning meeting link, or, looking out for a call for papers for the research posters and things like that. So just really quick snippets of things to make sure that you're staying up to date. And those 5 for Fridays have been going out to our communications group list that we created, kind of a grassroots communications list, as well as on Facebook and to members as well. And continuing collaboration with and coordinating the strategic planning team, which you will hear more about a little bit as well in a few minutes. So some other things happening: continued conversations with our DEI committee at the regional level, looking at continuing and increasing and having additional DEI initiatives. Continuing to connect with our GLR Assembly Representative, Tanya Corso, and also with the delegates and alternates, trying to get a pulse point on where everybody is in terms of leadership, and really making sure that our voices are being represented in the way that we want them to be, and that the voices of our community members are being heard and represented. Continue to collaborate with the archivist and the VPs about celebrating the 70th anniversary, which you'll hear more about. Acting as a consultant to the VPs as they look at a venue choice for GLR 2024 in Wisconsin, and continue to collaborate with President-elect Todd Schwartzberg, talking about governance documents and potential bylaw changes. And I must say that there's been a lot of partnership in this term in particular. I think because of some of the different things that have come our way, there has been a great deal of collaboration between the president and president-elect. And my hope is I start to look toward the end of my term, really making a smooth transition and hoping to facilitate a smooth transition for Todd as he comes into this role. So I feel confident that he is in the know to be able to continue on with some things and to carry on the initiatives that he brings to the office as well. Strategic planning. So we have been at strategic planning since January of 2022. I like, this long and winding road really kind of represents, I think, where we have been in this process. And I've found it, really exciting. I've been energized by it. I've been very hopeful by it. But here's also, the realities of it. We've learned a lot, but we have a lot more to learn. Right? Whether it be from people that can educate us within our community, or whether it be people outside of the community that we can listen to, whether it be members of our community that might belong to affinity groups. We have a lot to learn, still a lot to learn. We've heard from many, but with almost 2,000 board certified music therapists in the region, I'm aware that we have not heard from everyone. By no means have we heard from everyone on our strategic planning surveys. And we had about 400 participants in the survey, 200 to 250 of which I think were members, and the other 200 were not AMTM members at that time. So I'm keenly aware of the fact that we have to hear from a lot more people. In the GLR, we have a lot of strengths to build on, and that has become evident to me as the strategic planning team has gone through our surveys, but yet we have a lot to build on as well. And I think it's important for us all to realize that we can have strengths, but we obviously have a lot of areas where we can learn as well. And we're committed to building on those strengths, but also being willing to admit where we've made mistakes, where we've had downfalls, where we have had holes in our systems or systems of oppression that have kept some of our community from being able to participate fully or to access things or to be heard and represented. So I'm hopeful that as you I hope you'll take the time to to view the strategic planning update in its entirety. I think it does include a lot of information that is important for us all to kind of be mindful of. But this long and winding road is very, very much, I think, a good description of where we are, right? The GLR is very committed to learning and acknowledging the mistakes and the harm that we have made or we have created. And at the same time, we are very committed to making measurable change. And I'm not going to spend time tonight, listing things that I think we've done, because that's not the intent of our plan. I hope that our actions, that you're able to see some of those actions coming to light and able to see some of that commitment coming to life as well. So you will learn more in that YouTube video. Hopefully you'll take a chance to look at that. I do want to say thank you to our task force members. This group, like I said, has been working since January. In full transparency, when I came into this role, yes, I was excited about doing strategic planning, but I am not trained in strategic planning. There have obviously been extra curveballs thrown our way during this process. And so it's a challenge. And I have made mistakes. I have done things that I probably would do things differently the next time around. And I will definitely be doing, there'll be a call for service coming out for more folks that might want to be engaged in this process. And I hope that you will, anyone who's interested will take me up on that and join our team. Some of our folks will be stepping away for various reasons, as they have other roles they are focusing on, or maybe just time is not allowing them to participate fully. Tasks completed. We had a list of resources that we reviewed. We had a SWOT analysis. We looked to have the focus groups. The people on the previous slide were all divided into groups, focus groups that really looked at specific areas of the GLR. We've worked on our mission, vision, and core values. We had a survey with a little bit of friendly competition. I believe the state of Wisconsin, I remember Wisconsin and Indiana. I never remember which one it was. Somebody who can claim bragging rights can put it in the chat who remembers. But we had some great participation across the state. All 6 states, I should say. We've been analyzing the data, looking to see where we need to learn more, and also figuring out the themes that are emerging, our short and long-term objectives, and things like that that are coming from the information. So one of the biggest things we've done is really working on our guiding statements. And on the left in this slide, you will see the current vision. And on the right, you'll see a vision that is a working draft right now with the strategic planning team. And this is something that I welcome your feedback on in the comments section of our meeting and in our Google form as well. Currently, the vision draft right now reads, our vision is to offer a culture within our music therapy community in which all individuals feel they belong and are valued in our ever-changing world. So I'll definitely take feedback on that. And as I said, this is very much a draft. This is still, a work in progress. There's, I'm sure, improvements that can be made. And we have some improvements from our executive board last week that we need to take into account as well. Our current mission is on the left. And the mission draft that we have right now is, our mission is to foster an inclusive, equitable, and informed community of diverse music therapy stakeholders across the Great Lakes region. Again, we have feedback that we're going to be taking back to the group, and I welcome your feedback as well. You will find all this information in that YouTube video as well. We've also been defining some core values for the region, and these are the 5 that have emerged after looking at some of the things that can come back in our SWOT analysis: accountability, belonging, community, growth, and integrity. And we're working as a team to define these core values. And usually, and I think what we're really trying to do is use these as kind of our pillars, right, to guide us in any decisions we make, any programming, any procedures. Are we really able to say that an action speaks to our core values or brings them to life? And if not, then that might mean that that's not the best decision for us at that time. Looking forward, to give you a little bit of a timeline on where we are going with strategic planning. I have purposely given strategic planning a little bit of a pause in the past couple of months. One, I will admit that my bandwidth was at a place with everything else that's going on, both personally and professionally. I needed to step back and engage in a little bit of self-care. And I'm also mindful that that's the case for many of the folks on my team, or our team, I should say, because many are serving in various ways, various roles, various levels of our association. And so I wanted to take a little bit of a pause. I thought it also gives us a bit of perspective as well. But I'm hoping to get back on the horse here in the coming weeks and work to continue our guiding statements work, work and establishing some short-term goals for the next 12 months, looking to those long-term goals and presenting a strategic plan to our board in February when they meet, in preparation to bring it to you, the community, in March of 2023. So that's obviously flexible. Life happens, and I'm very, very mindful. Something I've had to remind myself is this is a volunteer role, and I'm reminded of that as I, have, as many of us have multiple meetings in a week and things like that. So I'm mindful these are our goals with this timeline, but things are flexible as well. But I hope that we can have something to bring to you when we meet next as a community in Fort Wayne in person without little boxes around all our faces, which will be super exciting. All right, so switching gears from our strategic planning, we do have some upcoming GLR calls for service that will be coming out. It is my goal to have this out to you by the end of the month, beginning of December. We do have a couple of our committee reps that will be stepping away, and please keep an eye on our Facebook and social media outlets and our newsletters and our voice to make sure that we will be saying a proper thank you to all those folks that might be moving on from a position for one reason or another. But we will have openings in our AMTA DEI committee. We'll have an opening with the Government Relations Committee at AMTA, an opening with the AMTA Research Committee, and also an opening with our Internship Approval Committee. At the regional level, we'll have openings for the Communications Committee that has been put into the bylaws, and someone to kind of help with all the different communication and technology tasks that we have. The GLR committee is looking to add members as well. And the mentoring committee that we are putting into place, and with the, as we restructure and revamp that program, we'll also be looking for members. And as I mentioned, the GLR strategic planning team will also look for additional folks to join in on that work. So look for that call for service and the specifics of that. And we look forward to leaders, emerging leaders. It doesn't have to be someone who's been around for a long, long time. It doesn't have to be someone who doesn't feel like they have a lot of experience. We look forward to welcoming new folks to our team. The 70th GLR conference is coming up in, you'll hear about this, I'm sure, from our VPs, but I wanted to kind of give you a heads up on the archives. Kaylee Bosley, our archivist, has been sorting things in Indiana. All the archives, as you might know, have been moved to Indiana Wesleyan, and we are excited to be having the chance to sort through things and finding things and also identifying what things are missing, right? And what bits of our history have not been saved that we need to make sure we document in some way. So even as much as a phone call from a pioneer in our region who I reached out to, I was like, hey, I would love to, get some feedback from you. And I got a phone call on a Saturday morning on my landline of all things, someone super excited to share GLR history. So it's nice to see that we have a rich history to document, but I'm also mindful that we're looking to fill in the holes. What is missing? What are the things that we need to make sure we are truly documenting in terms of what our history includes. So look for more ways. Kaylee's going to be putting together a Google form where you can send things in. There's going to be some things at the conference that will be kind of live interactive pieces as well for our archives celebration. So I'm mindful of the fact that my time in this role is winding down, and so really thinking about what is it that I can look to do in this remaining time as humbly as your president right now. So I will coordinate and process the calls for service, looking to continue conversations with Cultural Connections by Design, which is the group that put on our continuing education last fall about DEI related, seeing what sorts of roles they might play in 2023. It has been my goal, actually for a long time now, to put together a leadership training and academy for future leaders and new leaders in the GLR. And that, I will admit, has been pushed to the back burner just because of bandwidth and not being able to have the time to devote to that. But I'm hopeful that will happen in 2023. Strategic planning will continue. I'd like to work with GLR Treasurer to make sure that our treasurer, to establish protocol for tracking, right? So that the folks that are coming behind us don't have to reinvent the wheel of what do we need for a 990 and how do we find that information. So really trying to put a system that's already in place, cleaning it up even more. Continue to collaborate with the archivist and strategic planning teams for conference celebrations. And boy, do I look forward to seeing many of you, hopefully all of you, in person in 2023. I'm mindful that my whole term has pretty much been virtual, and I love to throw a good gathering. And so I am really looking forward to seeing you all in person and celebrating you and showing the appreciation that I have for all of you, for the work that you've done, especially those in leadership roles. So that's something that I look forward to in Fort Wayne. All right. So of course, my landline rings now. So as we close out this part of our meeting, I wanted to just say thank you. It's been very humbling and very, it's just been, I don't know how to describe it, but it's been very humbling being in this role during this time. And I continue to be inspired by those of you that are so active in our region, and those of you that speak up and come forward and put so much time and service and passion into our profession and to our association. And so I know that it's a difficult, emotional, and challenging time in our profession and our association. I'm very mindful that our region is in strong financial standing, is in strong standing in terms of our involvement and our engagement at the national level. But I'm also mindful that it's a difficult time. And so I will share with you that I continue to try to the best of my ability, and I hope that I'm doing it as well as I can, to be a strong advocate for our region in the bigger picture of AMTA. That being said, I'm aware that there are certain parts of the challenges that AMTA faces that have impacted the region. We have not been able to move as fast as we might have wanted to with strategic planning. We have not been able to go forward with the bylaw changes that we had hoped to do at this time because of needing to, I'm going to stop sharing so that you all can see my face at this point. So we've not been able to go forward with bylaw changes. There is a long list of changes that your president-elect would like to put into place. But because of our connection to AMTA, we can't change some things until AMTA changes things. I'm mindful of the fact that the different challenges have impacted our elections here in the GLR. You will notice that ballots have not gone out. We have a slate that is ready, but I was waiting, and we were waiting to receive membership lists that were current from AMTA. And so now we have that in hand, and I want to make sure that everyone who is a voting voice from AMTA membership has that voice here in the GLR. I'm also mindful of the fact that it's impacting our budgeting for the next year, and how we are planning programming and fiscal and planning the use of our fiscal resources. So I want you to know that I'm my email, my phone, my inbox, everything is open in terms of being in touch with me. I'm really, really grateful to all of you that continue to share your feedback, your grace when I make a mistake, and gosh knows I make them. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate your good humor with some of those. As well as your accountability for that. So I hope that we can continue to be strong as a region. You should know that you have a lot of voices at the AMTA level as well that are regional voices, and I'm grateful to those. And you should know that to the best of my ability, I'm working to ask the difficult questions at the AMTA level with the other regional presidents, and to really encourage increased transparency, communication, and accountability. And that's what we're all really striving for. So as always, you have my email, and I appreciate all of your feedback, and we will carry on with the rest of the meeting. And if anybody has questions, feel free to put them in that Google form, and I will address them as soon as I can when we get to that part of our agenda. So moving forward, let me get out of here real quick. And if anybody has a birthday, my 4-year-old is randomly singing happy birthday in the background. So if anybody has a birthday, he's singing to you. I'm not sure if anybody has a birthday, but that's great. All right. All right, so our next part of our business meeting will include a past president report, which actually our past president is not here tonight. She is leading a choir rehearsal for her town right now. But I wanted to share with you what she passed on to me about our Changemaker Awards. And so I will share a screen here. I'm very excited to share with you this information. I love when, as I said in the board meeting last week, we can give the people the money. So to remind you, we have some Changemaker Awards that were put into place this year. an undergraduate one, a graduate one, both those at $250, and a intern changemaker for $325. An honest review happened with these, with a letter of recommendation from a supervisor or faculty member for our applicants. We had people apply for all of them, and this is just hot off the presses. We are able to give these awards this year. We have 2 undergraduate changemaker awards, 1 graduate changemaker, and 3 intern changemakers. So we will be highlighting these folks with a picture and a slide about who they are and what they're doing in the spring. But I wanted to take a moment to give these folks a round of applause. I'm so glad to see us able to share our funds with this group of people. And next year we will continue some of these awards as well. So congrats to our Changemaker Awards for 2022. I'm also happy to report for you from Rebecca that she was able to, we have some professional membership dues support that was offered, as well as CBMT test reimbursement. And I can't remember off the top of my head, Lindsay, you might know how many of those we gave. I don't remember the exact number. Do you off the top of your head?
I don't remember the number. I could tell you the total amount of money.
We'll get to that when we go through the budget, but
yeah,
it's exciting to see that we spent all the money that we had budgeted in that area. So I'm really excited to see us able to give back to our community in that way. So moving on with our agenda, we will go ahead and go to President-elect.
Elaine?
Yeah.
I think Allison has her hand up. Sorry.
Oh, thank you. Allison.
Hey, shout out to Amy for catching this, but earlier in the agenda was the approval of minutes from the April meeting. Amy is so detail oriented, as we know from her wonderful minutes. And so I just
Amy, I'm sorry.
Highlight that.
Yes. Should we just move that to the end of the meeting? Do you want to do that? Is that okay with everybody? And is it okay if can you give me just a thumbs up with your thumbs if you're okay with that? All right. Parliamentarian, are you okay with that?
100%.
Okay, great, thanks. All right, thank you, Allison. And Allison, I just saw your message about the Google form. I'll make sure I change that now as Todd is talking. All right, so we're going to turn things over to our president-elect. Do you need to screen share, Todd? Yes.
Yes, if you don't mind.
Yep, go ahead.
Awesome. Y'all, I'm going to present to you a couple of statistics and some data from our recent fall symposium. But before I do that, the other part of my report tonight was going to be to announce who the winners of our special projects are. We're still waiting for a few more votes to come in from our 19 voting members on our executive board. So to my executive board colleagues, this is just a gentle reminder to please get that vote in. I'll be closing that at the end of the day tomorrow, because I would love to have the opportunity to notify our winners before Thanksgiving that they received this grant money from us and they can celebrate during Thanksgiving. So if y'all could just please make sure that you do that, that'd be great. All right, so let me share my screen and slideshow. Okay. Y'all, I cannot thank these folks enough. Our symposium would not have been successful at all without every single person listed. Sorry, I just muted myself. This symposium would not have been successful without every single person on this list. And so I want to say thank you to Shep and to Allison and to Nancy and to Beth and to Rachel and to Kristen and Elaine, Erica, Alicia, and Kathy. Y'all were an incredible group of folks to get to collaborate with and to learn from. And I'm inspired by you. I truly am. So thank you all for all the work that you gave to help our symposium be a success. A couple of things that happened during our symposium. We were able to offer 5 3-hour CMTEs. We offered those CMTEs at a very unique time. early on identified that we have an opportunity here to try new things. And there's some things that Melaine and I have been percolating on in our previous roles, humbly as the vice president-elect. And so we tried some stuff. So we offered the CMTE starting at 5:30 Central Standard Time, and they ended around 8:30 Central Standard Time. So it was 6:30 and 9:30 for our colleagues on the East Coast. And they were extremely well attended. I don't have the breakdown right here, but I can certainly get that to y'all. Some of our CMTEs had well over 60 people that participated. So that was wonderful, very exciting. We were also able to offer 16 75-minute concurrent sessions. 8 of those happened on a Saturday, 8 of those happened on a Sunday, and they occurred between the hour of about 1 o'clock Central Standard Time, and I think we wrapped up around 4 o'clock or so. And those were well attended also. The only thing we were not able to do, it was just because of technology, and we wanted to keep this as low cost as possible. We weren't able to record any aspects of the symposium. I want to give a huge thank you and shout out to our DEIJA colleagues who helped us put together a lot of important aspects of our symposium. Daniel, I'm not sure if they're there tonight or not. I haven't looked through, but Daniel Goldschmidt and his expertise and his experience was invaluable in spearheading and running our book club reflection opportunity. So thank you, Daniel. Thank you to the entire DEIJA committee for working with me and working with Jasmine Edwards. Her keynote was absolutely incredible and could not have happened without our colleagues. And just to all of our presenters, whether you were CMTE presentations or concurrent presentations, huge thank you for dedicating your time and your expertise to our symposium. We also were able to have a networking luncheon. And again, I'm not sure who's all here tonight, but thank you to Chelsea Mabes and to Leanna Razor for helping put that together. And we offered several town hall opportunities, which I believe a lot of y'all on the leadership team were a part of, as well as others too. As Melaine mentioned, we had a strategic planning, and that recording has been shared with you tonight, and I'm happy to share it with you again if you'd like to have easier access to it. We were able to have an internship educator roundtable discussion. We were able to offer some new types of roundtables, which we have never been able to do at a conference, but we were trying new things. And so we offered a new professionals and interns and a students roundtable, so they could just have a space for themselves. And then we were able to offer a lunch with leadership, which is something new that Melaine has started to do over the last couple of years, where we've been trying to make ourselves, both the assembly and executive committee and standing committees, we've tried to make ourselves as accessible to our colleagues across the Great Lakes. And so here's some numbers. And I kind of got to move y'all's faces around. I'm not going to read the numbers off to y'all. You can read all these individual numbers, but what I want you to take a look at is that far right column. We had for registration, we had 267 individuals that were registered, and you can see the breakdown between professionals and students that's there. And we even asked on the registration for some specific breakdown if our students were still interns, or if they were graduate students, or if they were retired. So you can see that breakdown. And then finally, I'm excited to share with you a little bit of the finances. You can see the net there. You can see the cost of the expenses, and that cost was only the cost to CBMT for approval of our CMTEs. And then it was the cost to the presenters of the CMTEs. And so that was the only cost that we had. We made $445. Thank you all for your help with that. That will specifically go towards student scholarships that we'll give out, I'm assuming, at the upcoming regional conference if the VPs so choose to use it for that. And you can see our income and then the balance for some folks, and I am going to be following up with we have about 7 folks who we did not receive payment from. So I'll work with them and
it appears Todd has frozen. Todd, are you there? So we are gonna go ahead, and I know he's gonna be following up with some folks for the remaining bits of money. And I know that we're also gonna go ahead and think about the best ways to utilize the funds that we did earn with that symposium. It is not our intent for that to be a moneymaker. That's something that we are going to try and look at, how can we use those funds? So also with regards to the symposium, there are a couple of things that we're going to take forward from that. The idea of having an ethics roundtable was brought up at the ethics CMDE. The idea of having some of those additional roundtables at the conference is going to be something that we do as well. So I think there's some great ideas that'll come from it. And then we need to kind of come back and talk as leadership, whether or not the symposium is something we will do again in that form, in that fashion, in that time frame. What can we learn from that? So that's definitely something we're still analyzing at this time. All right, so we'll go, I think that's pretty much all that Todd had, having seen his report before he gave it this earlier today, he shared with me. So we will go ahead to our Vice President and Vice President-elect, and Kelly and Allison. Who should I give screen sharing to? Anybody? Kelly or Allison? Okay, I'll do that right now. All right, so you are now a co-host. So we'll give it to our conference planners here.
Hello there. All right. Allison, go ahead and move on to our first slide here. So just some general updates since over the past several months. I was involved in the GLR strategic planning process, adding the conference perspective to the continuing discussions. We had site visits in Wisconsin, several site visits in Wisconsin, and are currently working on getting a contract negotiated. So we will have more information about that at GLR 2023 once all that is set. We have been looking at various conference policies and have some proposed changes based on our current world that we're living in. We are still reviewing those with the executive committee. So watch for that to be coming, assuming those once we get through looking at those, you might notice some things in your registration for GLR 2023. Not a lot that we are able to share at this point, other than we are seeking some outside counsel with legal aspects of various policies. So finally, our financial numbers, and unfortunately I had to jump onto my phone because my computer is having some issues. So Allison, right now for me, the numbers are being blocked by the closed captioning. So can you go ahead and share those?
Yes. RIP Kelly's computer. Okay. So for GLR 2022, our income was $45,470. The expenses were $23,000.40, meaning the net income was $22,469.60.
Thank you, Allison.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think back to last fall, when we initially did our budget for GLR 2022, we were still not sure if we were going to owe any costs to the hotel for our cancellation. And just a reminder, we did negotiate and did not owe anything to Minneapolis. So we did end up with some good funds there.
All right, friends, GLR 2023, this is Allison speaking. It's the 70th anniversary of GLR. The dates are March 15th through the 18th at the Hilton Fort Wayne and Grand Wayne Conference Center, which is in downtown support rate. This will be our first hybrid conference. So rewind to last fall pre-pivot, I kind of gave an overview of what the hybrid would look like, but let's review just so everyone knows what to expect. It is not synchronous. So I just want to make sure everyone knows that. We are starting small this year. It's like a pilot, and then we're going to try and grow from there. So we actually were just working on the schedule last night. We have dedicated 3 rooms to record concurrent sessions, which will then be uploaded after conference is over. Our goal, though, is to live stream some of the big main events, like the keynote, the awards luncheon, opening, all of that stuff. So there's a few things we want to try and do live, and then a lot of the a good chunk of concurrence will be recorded. The other thing we wanted to highlight tonight, just so you all are aware, is Kelly and I, in looking at the schedule, this is our first in-person conference since 2020. And in looking at the schedule, taking in all the feedback over the years, we have revamped it. There are longer breaks. So there's a good chunk of the breaks are more like 30 minutes. It's kind of varies throughout the couple of days, but there are longer breaks to allow people to just take a break, but also to get from one place to the other, take care of personal needs, whatever that is, not feel like they're rushing from one place to the next. So
Plenty of time in the exhibit hall.
Right, exhibit hall, of course. So just so you all know, because that doesn't necessarily, we don't always have that piece of the schedule published right when registration opens. So wanted to let you know that we did incorporate that, and we hope that it's received well. We'll see. We have 2 8-hour institutes on Wednesday. We have 5 3-hour and 4 5-hour CMTEs on Thursday. We can't tell you those yet until we get CBMT approval, but it is in the works and we are very excited. There's a nice variety. So we hope y'all take advantage. And then our keynote we can tell you about is titled Empowering the Therapeutic Relationship Through the Lens of Disability Justice and the Affirmation Model. And it's being presented by Amy Saker. Did I say that right, Leanne, or someone? Saker, thank you. Who has a PhD. There's an image of Amy on the right lower hand of the screen. And so we're very much looking forward to that keynote.
All right, registration rates. We are looking at having registration open early December. And our early bird pricing will go from when registration opens through February 1st. That is 11:59 p.m. I believe it's Eastern time, since our conference is in Eastern time this year, on February 1st. And those rates, we have a very special, since it is the 70th anniversary of the GLR conference, we are offering a $70 professional member rate for conference. This is, in my memory, this is the lowest registration rate for GLR in quite a while. So pretty excited about that. For non-members, it's just $100 registration early bird. Students are $25, retired $40. And then after February 1st, so starting at 12 midnight, February 2nd, professional members will go up to $100, non-members $130, students $45, and retired $60. One thing that we did as we were looking at registration rates, we very intentionally lowered the gap that we've had between member rates and non-member rates. One of the AMTA benefits for members is lower registration rates. So we wanted to honor that, but we also are very aware of making conference accessible for as many people as possible. We have our online rates for this is access to recorded sessions, concurrent sessions that will be available after the conference, as well as we are looking at live streaming some of our large events. So like our keynote, the rate for that for all professionals is $30, students $10, retired $20. For anyone who registers for full conference, you will also have access to online content. So that is included in the registration rate for full conference. There are also some one-day registrations, which additional information about that is in our registration mailing that will be coming up when we can open registration.
So the good news is that for all of those times where you have those two sessions you want to go to at the same time, hopefully one of them happens to be in the recorded room. But we still want people to go to the recorded rooms, right? So don't forget that. But you know, if you're kind of torn, maybe that'll be, you can catch it after. So that's exciting. This is Allison. We wanted to highlight a little bit about the hotel. Is that, as we said, the Hilton Fort Wayne downtown, which is connected to the Grand Wayne Convention Center. The room rate is $129 per night, and that's a set rate for singles all the way through quads. There is a parking of $15 per day. There is a skywalk that's attached, so if the weather's not great in March, at least you don't have to go outside. Our room block is 344 nights. So we need to reach a minimum of 280 nights. And what that means is if I stay at the hotel Thursday night, Friday night, and Saturday night, that's 3 room nights, just to help clarify for folks. And yeah, and the reason we highlighted it, and it's in our save the date email, is it's like a little fun fact, is that when we meet these things, it helps us continue to keep our rates lower. So that's why we highlight the room block. Our Regent, we do receive a $10 rebate for each hotel room. So this will be used to offset the costs of the conference center room rental, because the Hilton and the Grand Wayne are 2 separate entities. So there is a rental fee for the convention center. And so, but with the partnership, we get $10 for the room rate, so which is great. So it helps kind of offset that. There is a full service Starbucks in the lobby, like legit Starbucks. I'm not pushing Starbucks on anyone, but I will say, anyone who knows me with conference stuff, some of the things I look at, it's bathrooms, coffee, or tea, or whatever your beverage of choice is, because those lines are often super long. So I also wanted to highlight this one includes the mobile order ahead feature, if that is so of your choosing. So ideally, then you don't have to get up even earlier, stand in line, you know, the things. And then because it's downtown, there's multiple dining options nearby. On the right side of the screen is a QR code. We tried to get all with the current times, and that is to the GLR 2023 Save the Date email that came out a couple weeks ago. So hopefully y'all received that. It went to previous registrants of various conferences over the years. If not, please, you know, scan that, and if you need the link to it, just reach out to us.
A few final notes. Registration is open for sponsors, exhibitors, advertisers, and donors. We are using a different registration system than what we've used in the past. We have moved on from Constant Contact. It was no longer serving our needs. So you will notice that the registration system looks a bit different this year. But there is a QR code on the screen that takes you to the email that is for sponsors, exhibitors, advertisers, and donors, with lots more details about that, as well as the link to registration. As far as attendee registrations, like I mentioned, we're looking at having that go out in very early December. There are some people that need to get that. There are some people that need to get that into, if they have an employer reimbursement needed for the end of the year. So we are looking to have that out shortly. And then finally, a huge thank you to our 2023 co-chairs, Leanne Fuller, Tony Boyko and Mark Richens, as well as our entire local planning committee. I know at least Leanne and Mark, I know I saw you on, so huge thank you to you. And we just, this past weekend, we had our first site visit at the conference hotel and conference center with the whole committee, and they're just awesome. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Any questions? Our email is glrconferenceplanning@gmail.com.
Thank you, Kelly and Allison and all the conference planners that are here. We are grateful to you. And gosh, I think I can speak for all of us that we look forward to seeing everybody in person. All right, so moving on to the next part of our agenda, we have a report from our treasurer. So Lindsay, I think I made you co-host. You have ability?
Yeah, I think so.
Great. All right, take it away, Lindsay.
All right. Let's see here. Okay. Oh, helps if I start on the correct page. Okay. So thanks, everyone. So I'm Lindsay Wright, the treasurer of the GLR. Couple things to highlight. So GLR has paid all the 2022 invoices from AMTA after discussions, which provided specifics about the different charges, all the charges that came through in those invoices that you might remember from the last meeting were totally accurate. We had just not been billed for several years, so it was just surprising. And we didn't have the details to understand the billing that we received. So those have now been paid. 990 tax information has also been provided for the 2020 amended taxes, as well as the 2021 fiscal year taxes. And that was with GLR, Arrow Bookkeeping and GLR directly working together. So we did sign a contract or a letter of engagement with Arrow Bookkeeping to make that possible, instead of sending the information to AMTA and having them send it to Arrow Bookkeeping. So we were a little more efficient this time around. Also, GLR voted after the town hall discussion that we had a couple months back to defer the request of the dues payment for Q3 from AMTA, contingent on transparent financials and communication by December 1st, 2022. So we have not requested that payment, but have deferred it. So that being said, here is our current balance sheet, and I'm going to try to, your pictures are a little bit in the way, but you can see where we have come from the last few years. This is the end of the fiscal year totals for 1920, June 30th, 2020. December 31st, 2020. That's because we went from the fiscal year went from July through June to a calendar year. So that looks a little weird. The end of 2020, end of 2021, and then today. So you can see that our total assets right now are $150,000, 187. And let's see here. Here is a beautiful column graph of those assets broken down by account. So you can see that typically as an association in the past, we've been around $120,000. We dipped down to $40,000 in 2016. Gradually we dipped and then we made it back, and we are really in very good financial standing at this point. If you all recall, we have had an initiative to spend down some of those excess funds that where we made profits the last couple years, and are sitting at a higher level than we really need for the programs that we provide. So we have had initiatives to give back to the membership, and with some specific DEI efforts, and I'll go over those in just a moment. So I've broken this down by revenue, expenses, and then profit. So for this page, revenue, this is year to date, and this is all 2022. So for the conference, our revenue for 2022 conference funds is almost $43,000. So you'll see that that's different from Kelly's report, because Kelly and Allison are looking specifically at this past conference that happened and all the funds associated with it. But since my report has to do with the calendar year and specifically our taxes for 2022, I'm not going to take in consideration the revenue that we got in December of 2021 for this past conference. So it's all based on the calendar year. So that's why it's slightly different. Membership dues, we did collect membership dues the first 2 quarters this year from AMTA, and we do get a portion typically of those dues that come in. And then continuing education revenue was just over $6,000 as well. So our total revenue was almost $56,000 this year. Expenses. So the conference expenses, again, just for 2022, $20,581. So the awards that we've given out so far, just over $12,000. The program expenses. So a program is like an initiative that we have for the year. So this includes CBMT fees, symposium presenters, that sort of thing, is just over $5,000. Management expenses. So this includes subscriptions like SurveyMonkey and Dropbox and Zoom, insurance, tax preparation, travel expenses, website. That's just over $11,000. And our investment losses at this point are a little under $5,000 for the year. Our investment is actually going up at this point. So that's a good thing. But we did lose some earlier in the year. So our total expenses so far are just over $49,000. All right, so profit. So I've, these are totally not the right numbers. Shoot. Well, you could see that we had $55,000 in revenue, $49,000 in expenses. So that's a $6,000-ish difference. And I'm going to point out that we still have 2 very large line items that will be paid out this year. We have $10,000 to pay out for the Indiana lobbyist, and we have $8,500 to pay out in awards and scholarships. So we will take a loss this year, and just in my head, that's around $24,000-25,000 for the year. But again, that was intentional. We wanted to give back through these different awards and scholarships. Specifically, the DEI committee has put forward different presenters that hopefully everybody has enjoyed. That was a little bit more expensive as well. And then this lobbyist for licensure in Indiana is more than we would typically have in a budget as well. So sorry, these numbers are a little weird, but that's the conclusion. So if anybody has any questions, they can certainly send me questions at this email. I was having issues with my email, but it is fixed. So send me an email if you have a question, or certainly send it in through the link. And there we go.
Thank you, Lindsay. Lindsay has been working a lot of hours getting everything ready for the 990. So many thanks to her. We are grateful for, we are all grateful for your methodical ways that you go about it. So thank you, thank you. All right, so moving on to the next part of our agenda, I believe we have Rachel, who will speak as membership chair tonight, AMTA represented to our AMTA membership chair. Do you need to screen share, Rachel?
No, but I'd love it if you could for me, because I'm on my iPad.
Oh, okay.
Give
Give me 2 seconds while you're talking. Hold on.
That's fine.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so thank you, Malene, for giving me space. And I'm very thankful that I believe my kids are asleep, so I may even be able to do this uninterrupted, which is a minor miracle. So I intentionally spoke in front of the board last week about where we're at with membership numbers, looking ahead at everything. And the reality is our numbers in terms of membership to AMTA are really not good. And it's, in the 8 years that I've been doing this, it's the record lows for everything I've ever seen. And it's not a surprise to me at all. There's been a lot of things obviously that are in flux, and a lot of moving parts, and a lot of uncertainty, and a lot of just unknowns. And so with that in mind, the membership chairs across the country, we've been meeting with the AMTA board, talking about what are our next steps, because the reality is what we're doing right now isn't working. And how we look at membership right now is not, it needs to change. We've heard this for way too long, and there's no time like the present to make some changes. So I have a meeting tomorrow morning, actually, with my regional reps. And so thank you, Malene. So see, I gave you a very fall festive graph looking at our numbers. So, membership numbers have gone up. So the first quarter of this year, we're at 491. And at the third quarter, which is where we typically will see our biggest boost in membership numbers, other than at that first quarter, because of the national conference and people registering for that. As you can see, there's not a big boost here at all. And compared to where we were last year at this time, it was at 697, and here we are at the end of the third quarter at 571. And there's typically not a huge increase in membership numbers within the fourth quarter. We do see some, but that's just the reality of what we're looking at. So if you want to scroll down for me, Malene. Perfect. So as I was saying, we're revamping the membership costs, and the goal is to create a massive decrease in what the cost is for membership, and that's across every single category. The 4 categories that we're specifically targeting for a potential sliding scale is going to be professional members, students, so undergrad, grad students, and then retirees. And it's not clear yet exactly what that's going to be. Like I said, we have this meeting tomorrow morning, and I'm hoping that we will be finalizing exactly what those numbers are going to be and what we're going to be proposing to the assembly on December 6th, taking into account all the different factors and what is AMTA's budget and what are we looking at, and all that great stuff that is way above my pay rate. But yeah, so I'm very cautiously optimistic that we will have some idea of what we're going to be doing, and that this will get passed in the assembly, God willing. And fingers crossed that we are able to offer membership at a cost that makes sense for music therapists across the country and works for everybody. So one of the things that I have offered is some of our success. Thank you, Malene. with respect to the fact that we intentionally have been lowballing our conference prices with the idea that we understand that we're trying to not make a profit, and recognizing that we are in a financially different situation than AMTA. But the reality is we consistently have made a profit. And that to me is suggestive that music therapists across the country are willing, are more willing to invest in things if it's at a cost that makes sense, right? And so I think there is a rationale for why doing a low baller type membership number in terms of cost is going to be beneficial in the long run. So, you know, like I said, everything hopefully will be presented on the 6th at the assembly and it'll be passed, right? Of course, I'm just kidding. And we'll see what happens and we'll kind of go from there. So I did see something in the chat. Do I have an idea of the GLR membership loss percentage right compared to other regions? That's a great question. I think, I don't know for sure, but I know that, oh, Leslie probably has a good answer for us. It's been consistent. It hasn't just been a GLR thing. I can say that much for sure. So across the country. Any other questions that anybody has about this? Fantastic. Thanks, Elaine.
Thank you. And as Todd has put into the Google or into the chat, if you want to ask any questions or have any thoughts, feel free to put that space in there. And it looks like we have a couple things in the chat too. Leslie has put in that she's looking at the national numbers right now. There are 2,549 total AMTA members this year. And Lindsay has also included the link in the chat to the updated slides, treasurer slides. So Lindsay, you are human. It's okay. It's all right. It's all right. All right. So the next piece of our agenda is our state representatives report. And so who do I need to give screen sharing to? Is that Mia?
Yeah, I have it pulled up.
Okay, great. All right, I'll make you co-host and go ahead.
Right.
So we wanted to use this time to highlight again, there's a lot more, you know, this report will be in the folder. So you all can read through, but I think it's important that everybody has an idea of what's happening in our state. So we're going to go through this and learn a little more. Take it away to our state presidents.
Thank you. All right. I hope all the presidents are ready. So we are going to start. This is just a snapshot of membership from across the region. We won't read these out loud, but just to give an idea. And moving on to advocacy. My name is Mia Iliopoulos-Krings. I am the president of Illinois, so I'll be sharing Illinois' report today. On Friday, May 27th, the governor of Illinois, J.B. Pritzker, signed our bill, music therapy licensure, into law. It was a very exciting time. And so the next steps now between CBMT and the AMTA national teams, our state task force and our legislative consultant drafted language has been done, and it is now being reviewed by the Illinois Department of Financial and Professional Regulation, IDFPR, and then was submitted to the Joint Committee on Administrative Rules. And after some going back and forth with public comments and whatnot, the committee will review the language. It will be approved, and then the application process can begin for licensure in Illinois. So it's been a really exciting time getting to celebrate that, and even more so when we can actually apply to be licensed. So I will pass it over to April in Michigan.
Hi, everybody. This was submitted a few weeks ago, and of course, this was an election year, so things are a bit different right now. We did have a bill introduced both in the House and Senate in Michigan. On March 8th, House Bill 5879 was referred to the Committee on Regulatory Reform, and Senate Bill 953 was referred to the Committee on Health Policy and Human Services. Of course, now everything has changed because of the election, but we have very good news in Michigan that the Democratic leadership has been more receptive to having music therapy be introduced and as a for licensure, and the Democrats got control of the House and Senate, which they didn't have before. So we have a lot more hope with this new legislature. So we can move on.
I'm Erica, president of Wisconsin chapter for music therapy. So we've had a little bit of a stressful time lately. Wisconsin Department of Health and Human Services have requested information towards a case for Wisconsin music therapists to retain their state registration, as they are questioning the necessity of this registration in order to practice in Wisconsin. Art therapists and dance therapists also fall under this this registry as well. A hearing was held in September. It didn't go super well. Testimonials have been submitted, and the final decision will be made in January. And so we are doing some work right now to try to, make sure that they are aware of all the work that we do and the importance of this registry in our state. Jane Cregan and other national representatives have been working with us through this process, which has been greatly appreciated. I met recently with state representative to discuss current events, and we're hoping that this person will assist us. And I've also been working very closely with Nancy Dexter-Schabel. Of course, she's very schooled in this process and the history of all of this. And so we're going to be working with her, hopefully in drafting of a bill similar to another that had recently passed in our state to help in increased recognition of our profession. And I'm not really exactly sure what that's going to look like, but we are hoping to work on that sooner than later. And we are hoping that this will also potentially open up conversation to potential licensure in our states. So that's where we're at right now.
Hi, I'm Leanne Fuller. I'm the president of the Indiana organization. Currently, our task force does have a bill drafted to obtain licensure that's going to be presented in our 2023 legislative session. We have worked on hiring a lobbying firm, the Corden Group, to assist in these efforts, because obviously it hasn't been received up to this point, but we hope that this lobbying firm will help us to do that. Also, our task force and AIMT combined efforts, the pay rate for music therapy under in Indiana is very low and has not actually been changed in the 20 years it's been on the waiver. So together we, the task force and AIMT worked with other music therapists within the community to research and put together a lot of information that was then passed on to the appropriate committees to hopefully get that rate increased. The state is currently going through a waiver rate review of all services with an outside contractor to kind of evaluate the service rates, which ones need increased, which ones may need decreased, which ones may need maintained, and how they will regularly, hopefully, increase those rates so that we kind of stay with the financial needs.
Hello, everybody. I'm Allison Duran. I'm the president for Ohio. I would like to just make a clarification that was caught. Ohio does not have almost 600 members. We have 98 professional members. Okay, so just to make that very clear, and so that if it wasn't caught in the chat, that was clarified. As far as our advocacy efforts go within Ohio, we had both House and Senate bills introduced to the committee. We have been told to expect some type of present in December. We don't know what that is, but we have been told to expect something, so we are waiting to hear. Our Democratic sponsor is retiring, so we will need to do some adjustment as he leaves office. And we will also have some changes in our task force leadership, as well as people that have been on the leadership team for our task force for a good chunk of time will be stepping down as well. So we're going to have an adjustment period, but maybe be able to celebrate within that adjustment period. So we will keep you updated.
Hi, this is Erica Rupp, president of the Minnesota chapter. And at the time that we wrote this PowerPoint, we were eagerly waiting for midterm elections to be completed so that we could work on a plan. And now midterms is done, and now we are actually working on the plan. And the plan is to start all over with a chief author on both sides and to kind of thumb through the current bill and its suggested language edits and get a new bill file on both sides. So wish us luck. We'll keep you in touch. And yeah, that's all we've got for Minnesota at this point in time.
All right, moving on to continuing education. In Illinois, in lieu of our fall CMTE, we encouraged our members to attend the GLR Fall Symposium and the AMTA Symposium. And we have some really exciting new CMTE opportunities that will be announced in the coming new year.
This fall, Michigan encouraged members to participate in the GLR Symposium and held a hybrid state meeting in conjunction with the symposium.
Hi, this is Erica again from Minnesota. We had a successful ethics CMTE and conference this last fall, actually just a few weeks ago, and right now are beginning our plans for spring conference.
In Ohio, we had a major board change. And so we did not offer any CMTEs, but we did encourage attendance at the GLR Symposium. We are actively planning CMTEs that to occur in the next fiscal year, as well as starting to plan our state conference for the fall of 2023, which will be in person.
In Wisconsin, we recently had a fall CMTE that was in Madison called Songwriting Techniques for the Music Therapist. That was facilitated by Joel Matthews from Carroll University, and it was very well attended. We do have a new continuing education chair, and so we are in the process of talking about plans for next year and even trying to be on top of something for fall so we can get some good attendance.
In Indiana, we had our fall conference at IUPUI in early September. We were able to host this as both a hybrid and an in-person and virtual event. We had two presentations. One was the Colorful MTs, taking a deeper dive into BIPOC peer supervision groups in the workplace, as well as an ethics presentation, same issues, different code, practical applications of the new AMTA Code of Ethics. It was well attended.
All right, membership support opportunities. In Illinois, we have one disaster relief and two financial hardship support funds that are available all year. One AMTA membership scholarship, two CMTE scholarships, and two internship scholarships that were just renamed in honor of the late Mary Ann Ferrolo, who was a pioneer in Illinois.
In Michigan, we had a spring MMT Memorial Scholarship for interns, and it was awarded to Elizabeth Carpentier for $500. The fall MMT Memorial Scholarship for interns is still open. The application due date was extended. So if you know any interns in Michigan, send them our way. And a CBMT scholarship was awarded as a membership promotion in January.
In Minnesota, for students and intern membership in January, it's half off, and all year it's free conference attendance for students and interns. We have 2 major deadlines coming up on January 31st. Both the internship scholarship and the professional scholarship is due. Application links are on our website. And then open all year round, as always, is our Jen Warner member support stipend for anyone who is interested. And also you can nominate somebody else as well.
This is Allison from Ohio. We will be rewarding scholarship money at the end of this fiscal year to members. We are in the process of reviewing our scholarship opportunities to make sure that they meet the needs of our membership. Again, as I said earlier, because we had a huge transition in our board, we are reviewing all of our things to support our members the best way possible.
In Wisconsin, we've been brainstorming a lot about how to increase membership and also increase and improve community feel with music therapists throughout the state. So we're working to create a digital and or hard copy of like welcome packets for new professionals or new music therapists to the state, featuring like coupons or important information about music therapy in Wisconsin. I'm really working to create groups throughout the different areas of the state to coordinate social events in like smaller pockets to increase opportunities for community as well. And I didn't get this on here, but we also do have a founders fund that we students can apply for in order to get conference attendance paid for in spring.
In Indiana, one of the things that we had started was some strategic planning to address the needs and to hopefully increase support for the music therapists in Indiana. We had kind of paused that momentarily, but now we have identified our past president to kind of take that lead role and hopefully gain some of the music therapists within the community to be able to get that strategic plan back up and going and start moving forward on that. Also, we have a student scholarship that we awarded at our fall conference to Dylan Bolin, and she's with Mainstay Music Therapy in Fort Wayne. And one thing I forgot to put on here was we did have a social get together this past summer. Unfortunately, it was kind of a rainy day and it was a picnic, so it wasn't greatly attended, but hopefully next one will be better.
All right, in Wisconsin, Nancy Dexter-Chavo has stepped up again to really help our state in the current battle towards maintaining our registry. We're working together with the hopes of this potentially leading to licensure. We're excited to welcome the new board members. Ingrid Gruitt is our continuing ed chair, and Kathy Schumacher will soon be our new membership chair.
In the state of Ohio, this is Allison from Ohio. October is Music Therapy Month, so we celebrated Music Therapy Month with daily social media posts. We hosted watch parties at 2 different locations for GLR Symposium and had a celebration of the profession. We are very excited to add a new board position to our team in 2023, and that will be a DEIA liaison, which will connect with GLR, but won't necessarily have a seat directly on GLR's team. It will just act as a liaison so that Ohio is just working towards all the things that we need to work towards.
In Minnesota, this is Erica Rupp again. Our website's getting a facelift. Yeah, and it's underway. We're super excited, and our hope is that we're going to launch the new website shortly after the new year in 2023. So can't wait to share it with you all. And then also I wanted to make sure that we give a highlight and shout out to all of our community members and all of our service users. I feel like during all these transitions and all this hard time, they have really kind of come through and helped support our music therapists within the community, which inadvertently has kind of supported all of the missions and things that we're wanting to do here for the board in Minnesota. So yeah, I just appreciate them and all the friends in music therapy.
This is Mia in Illinois. Again, our bill is signed into law, and I just want to give a huge shout out to Nancy Swanson and all the incredible Illinois Government Relations Task Force members for their tireless work and energy with getting our bill passed. Also, the board is currently restructuring the frequency in which we meet, I should say. We used to meet on a quarterly basis, and we are now moving that to every other month, just to hold all of the board members accountable, to be more up to date on new things that are happening, and just be more on top of things. And that meeting frequency, I think, will really help in doing that. Our fall social was held in Peoria, Illinois, this past Saturday. The organization paid for all who attended to have new professional headshots done from a local Peoria photographer. So that was really exciting. And we had an equal number of people who came from the Chicago area and from people who came from down south. So that was really exciting for attendance purposes.
Okay, in Indiana, again, I want to say, we thank the members of the task force and AIMT and the community music therapists for working on the waiver reimbursement stuff. The low reimbursement rates, we think, are part of the reason sometimes we can't keep therapists in the state. So hopefully we can get those increased and maintain our students, employees, and everybody in the state. Also wanted to highlight that Lindsay is working with DERS to try to add music therapy to the TBI and AAD waivers. There's been some reshuffling as to where the waivers are housed, and with them moving under the new umbrella, we are hoping to get music therapy on there. Again, something I didn't put on because we were in the process of doing it. We are going to elect a DEI representative this time around in our elections, who will serve on our executive board. And we also are working to connect with high school students as an organization to spread the word.
Michigan got creative this year. Our hybrid state meeting was held during the GLR symposium, and we used funds earned from the GLR strategic planning survey to pay for pizza for students and professionals to gather in person at EMU and at WMU. So many of us were virtual, but we were able to support people to be in relationship. Also, during the GLR symposium, Michigan had the highest number of people participating in the daily riddle, which earned $100 for the state.
I think that's it from the States. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you to all of you for putting that report together. There's a lot going on, and it's very hopeful, I think, to see all that happening and to see the achievements and things that are happening in the States. And I think that the States are in good hands. Thank you to all of you for that. All right, so moving on in our agenda, the next items, we had new business and old business on the agenda, which we really don't necessarily have anything specific tonight in those agenda areas. And so we move on to community questions and comments. And so looking at the Google form, it looks like, oh, there is I just now seeing one in. Let's see, an anonymous question. So I'll take a chance to read that. I have participated in conference from another region, volunteer and attendee during COVID. Is that possible for 2023, or should I ask AMTA to process my GLR membership or pay member dues some other way? It'd be my understanding that if you are an AMTA member, you can get the member rate for a GLR conference. I'm seeing a nodding of the head from Allison. And so I believe that you can attend the GLR conference as a member because you're an AMTA member. So hopefully that clears that up. And if not, please feel free to mention something again in the Google form. And that actually, I believe, is the only entry that we've had into the Google form tonight. And so I do want to actually make sure that the space is here. If anyone has anything they'd like to bring to us, to bring to comments, questions, anything, we open up the floor at this time. I'm just making sure I'm not seeing any hands raised as I look through the different screens here. I'm not seeing anything in the chat at this time that we have missed, I don't think. Have any of my other extra eyes seen anything that we've missed? No. Okay. All right. Well, anyone that has questions or comments, certainly you can put them into our form, and if there are questions I can answer, then for sure I will. And Lindsay has any questions that have come for Lindsay regarding budget or treasury related things, feel free to do that. We will move on with the next item, which we need to go back to, which is the April minutes, and we will begin to wrap things up then. So I'm going to go ahead and screen share. You should have access to this document from the agenda, but I will screen share here. These are our minutes, a combined group of minutes put together from our conference in April. Friday, April 8th, our conference minutes. And thank you to Amy for putting these together. I will slowly scroll, and hopefully if you need access to these in a different way, you've been able to get that access. And thanks to Amy for these minutes. I'm just going to keep scrolling here. Hopefully, I'm not scrolling too fast for anyone. Please speak up if I am. And then we transition to the second night of the business meeting during our conference. That's why these are longer minutes. All right. Takes us to the end of those minutes. Do we have a motion or any comments on the minutes at this time?
This is Allison Gunnick. I move to approve the minutes from the April meeting.
Great. Thank you, Allison. A second. From Jennifer Jones and Tanya, I think it is. All right. All in favor of approving those minutes, go ahead and raise your hand. All right, we can lower hands. Anyone opposed? All right, anyone abstaining from the vote? Motion carries. All right, thank you for your patience with that and your grace for me skipping over that initially. Thank you. Do we have any announcements, anything from our AMTAS friends and colleagues? Olivia, I see you're here on the call. Is there anything you'd like to share with us tonight? Any announcements from AMTAS?
Just that we are in the middle of a really extensive project that I think is going to be really beneficial for the students in our region and hopefully even on a more national scale, kind of looking at the different aspects of wellness. We're still kind of in the early stages, but really creating new resources for students in terms of, you know, how to apply for internships, what that whole process looks like, kind of creating more spaces for students to connect and kind of just have community, because I feel like a lot of that was lost with things being virtual. So we're just really excited about kind of all those initiatives coming to fruition, and things are really coming together prior to conference. So I'm just really looking forward to seeing those connections that are formed.
Awesome. Thank you, Olivia. And anybody else have any other announcements for the group? They could be job information. I did get an email from someone, I believe it was in Michigan. They'll make sure to pass on about a job posting. A couple things have come our way in the past day, so I'll make sure they find their way to the website as well. Anybody else have any comments or questions tonight? Any announcements? If not, I'm hoping that this might be the last virtual business meeting we have for a little while, which would be really exciting. So I'm hopeful I'll see a lot of you in Fort Wayne in March. And I thank you for your time tonight. I will take a motion. If there's no further business or announcements or questions or comments, then I will take a motion for adjournment. Looks like President-elect Todd Schwartzberg makes that motion and Erica seconds it. All right, then as of 8:15, the meeting is adjourned, and I will go ahead and stop the recording.